Hi, I'm Kira. Welcome to episode 4 of Open Mouth. Today we're first joined by Noah Levine, who started his film career because of his love for horror and Halloween, and he's now a manager of digital marketing at Lionsgate. He uses all of that early filmmaking experience to work on some really cool projects for Lionsgate, and still works on his own personal creative projects after work. So you first got your start with Zomboy Productions, which is
Yes.
a horror YouTube channel, and your first video is from 14 years ago. So
Mhm.
just tell me about that channel and how it, shaped your early filmmaking years.
Yeah, as a kid, I was obsessed with like Scooby-Doo and Halloween and all sorts of stuff like that. And then at a certain point, I think like my dad started showing me like Indiana Jones and Star Wars, some of those sort of like early formative movies. And at some point, I like got over my fear of horror movies and then like combined my love for like Halloween with movies that I enjoyed. And that slowly kind of transitioned to just like making my own stuff. Like I remember using my mom's like MacBook that had iMovie on it and like making a movie and it was just me. And like I was obsessed with like the little cheesy like in-camera effects and all that stuff that just made it so easy to like make wild stuff happen on the screen. And then at that point, like I was slowly, I guess, getting into YouTube. I was making like short films with a friend of mine at the time, and he had a YouTube channel, and we were just uploading to his channel. And then at a certain point, I was like, I'm gonna start my own. And it honestly also came from like I went to this sleepaway camp called Camp Scatico, and it was like a regular sleepaway camp, but they had like a filmmaking activity. So every day during like the optional period, like you can choose to go learn about filmmaking. And I ended up making like really like funny, cute like horror movies there with my friends at the time. And I think that's where like Zomboy Productions came from that group of friends when we were all making stuff at summer camp. And then from there, I would just kind of like slowly started making stuff at camp, but also when I was home, I would like force my friends to dress up, and I had all these like Halloween costumes because I was really into Halloween. So we had all these props, and like every mask I had, I could like turn into a different character. So like each mask was a different short. And from there, it was just kind of like whenever I could after school or on the weekends, making stuff with my friends and uploading it to YouTube. One thing led to another, and that's what I ended up studying in college and whatnot. But that's kind of the origins of that. And I still, use it to this day to upload stuff. And I guess it's sort of become my production company, but it's just me. Like it's just kind of like a label for any creative projects that I work on. And I've always preferred that be like the attribution versus it being like a Noah Levine film or something like that. I much prefer the more like all-encompassing sort of collective. But yeah, that's sort of where that started.
And it's always like, yeah, iMovie gives you like it would have the preset trailers and it would be like,
Yes.
ooh, like it would be super like dark and dramatic. Oh my God. I used to
That's
go
my
crazy.
first video on my channel
Oh,
is
really?
an iMovie trailer template.
So yeah, so then, a few years later, only a few, you went to UT Austin.
Yes.
And I gotta say, I feel a little bit intimidated because you were conducting some really big interviews when you were with the Daily Texan. What were some of those really crazy experiences? Because I saw that, you were talking, you were with Licorice Pizza, you were doing
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
some crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at UT, I remember visiting for like prospective students day or whatever, and they had these little Daily Texan like newspaper boxes all around campus, and I'll never forget like pulling one out and looking at it, and like on the back there was like a review of the movie Hereditary, and I was like, oh, this is something you can do, and I was like, I would love to write because I had done like reviews in high school for our high school newspaper, but it wasn't anything crazy, and I applied to be part of the Daily Texan. It's kind of like treated like an extracurricular. It's not like a intensive process or anything. And my freshman year, I was able to start writing for them, and it kind of works on like a pitch by pitch basis. I guess that's how any newsroom works, but you'd essentially like come in with like three ideas for things you wanted to do, which could include writing a review and whatnot, or doing an interview. And then your editor would sort of approve what you got to do. But Daily Texan had a really great relationship with it was Fonz PR is the name of the publicity company. And so they were always hooking us up with like the same press screenings that like big journalists were going to. So I was always going to like early movie screenings, and then your review can come out right when the embargo lifts. And with that also came interview opportunities, and some of them were virtual, and some of them they had like press days, like Licorice Pizza. They had all the Heim sisters together, even though only one of them, like Alana's like the lead, and the other two are in like one scene, but they
Yeah.
were like, you know what, you can talk to all of them. And that one was like the most over the top. Like they recorded that one, and it was like a whole
I know. I watched the clip.
production.
You're like, I've never done this with all the cameras. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't rewatch those,
I
so
don't
that's
blame
fun.
you. Like, I
Um,
can't. Yeah.
but that was a lot of fun, and I ended up just getting to t like whenever there was a film festival, like Fantastic Fest or South by Southwest in Austin, it was just a revolving door of interviews, and we usually were always able to get a red carpet slot, like when they walk down the carpet and do interviews. So that's where I really spoke to a lot of like Anne Hathaway and Daniel Radcliffe and all these like larger than life people who were honestly for the most part really 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 nice. I'll never forget like telling Daniel Radcliffe that like one of my favorite movies was Woman in Black, which is a horror movie he was in. I'm sure no one goes up to him and tells Harry Potter that they loved seeing them in the haunted house movie from 2013, but that was a movie that when I was like 13 at the time that really freaked me out in a really good way. And that was also one of the first, I think, horror movie trailers that got me genuinely frightened. And I think maybe subconsciously that was laying the footwork for my career in marketing in the future. So that was a lot of fun. But those interviews were great because I was like doing the interview for the Daily Texan, but then I would always throw in a question about like, what's your advice for a filmmaker? Or what's your writing advice? And that was always for me. So I honestly should make like a compilation of what everyone said to me because there was a wide variety of stuff and but it was great. And there were a lot of people that I had like interviewed at the time and then they've popped back up in what I do for my job at Lionsgate. And it's
Oh my
always funny. Of
God.
course they don't remember me, but like I remember interviewing you when I was in college and you said this, but
Do you ever mention it?
I don't think I ever have. I might have like if it's like a director, maybe I bring it up if it's like a more casual kind of thing. But usually with the actors, we have such limited time with them. It's like, I'm not
Wait, that'd
gonna
be
waste
such a
time.
fun.
They're just gonna stare at me like, yeah, sure, I
I
remembered you.
remember. If you
Yeah.
talk to Daniel Radcliffe, I feel like he would.
I
Because
don't know. He was talking. I mean, he was doing press for his. It was the
I know,
junk
but
movie
you
he
brought
was
up
in.
something besides Harry Potter.
I know. Maybe one day if he sees me, he'll remember me. It's really like you got to get the repeat conversations in, and
Yeah.
then maybe eventually they'll get to know you a little bit.
So tell me about when you landed that first role at Lionsgate as a digital marketing coordinator.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of like most people post grad, just really applying to all sorts of jobs and whatnot. And I had really wanted to go more in a creative development direction or production. But obviously, I had had marketing experience. I had done a lot of it with the Daily Texan and then with other stuff. But yeah, I mean, I originally was hired in like a temporary position, so I wasn't sure how long I was going to be here, and I wasn't really sure on the scope of what the position was. And of course, I had grown up loving Lionsgate's horror movies, specifically like Saw and all of these like early 2000s sort of iconic cult classics that really had a presence in the horror genre. So I was happy to be a part of that kind of family. And obviously, I knew I wasn't only going to be working on horror movies, but I selfishly was excited mainly for that. And yeah, I mean, I was just really happy to get a job in the industry in LA. I had moved out here with a roommate and he already had a job. So I was really feeling the not jealousy, but like the ticking clock. Like, all
Yeah.
right, I gotta settle into something. And I lucked out tremendously and it's been an incredible experience. I'm still getting used to the whole adult thing, even 4 years after graduating. I'm grappling with the whole exhaustion of it all and going back to a schedule where it's not like college where your whole day is sort of flexible. Now it's back to like high school where it's like from this time to this time you're out of the house and then you have your little free time in the afternoon and evening and back again in the morning the next day. But it's been fun. It's been super great
That's
and really cool.
interesting. I feel
Yeah.
like I've never heard someone like describe it like that, like you're back in high school.
That's how I feel. I mean, maybe other people don't, but like I think I took it for granted like how college, like that flexibility and just how much more time you have for your personal creative projects.
To play devil's advocate a little bit, I've heard people saying like a job is nice because once you're done, like you're done. Like you don't have homework. What are
That's true. I don't like homework. And I'm thankful some nights when I sit there being like, wow, imagine if I had homework, that would not be good.
Yeah.
But that's fair. I think it's when you're trying to do a lot of additional creative stuff outside of your
Oh,
job, it doesn't
yeah.
feel like you're done because you're like, okay, now it's time to be productive after work and do stuff for myself and for my own creative endeavors, even though I've used all my energy
Yeah.
doing.
But yeah, I know you said you can't talk too much about like what you're currently working on,
Yeah.
but can you talk about any past projects that have been,
Yeah.
specifically impactful to you?
Yeah, I would say working on the last Saw movie, Saw 10, was really, really fun because that was just something I just authentically really speak that language naturally. It's not like I had to prepare for it. So it was really great to be able to be in meetings and planning and really be a voice of like, here's kind of the fan perspective and here's what the fans are going to enjoy. And then here's my spooky, dark twist on it that only I could come up with. So that was a lot of fun. And we really spent a lot of time building up the Saw puppet. His name is Billy as sort of the icon of the franchise and how on social media he is portrayed and how he interacts with the horror community. And I think that campaign specifically was like such a perfect fit for me in terms of being able to contribute. And it just was extremely memorable to the point where like I was like getting past just Lionsgate. I was like getting to talk with the producers and be sort of like a colleague of them in the process versus just kind of being stuck down on the studio level. I was really interacting with the filmmakers, which means a lot to me to be able to kind of let them be known how much I was pouring into the project and how much passion I had for it. And so it was super great. And it was a great way to like make use of like the horror community in LA and all the little small businesses. Like we did a coffee integration with this place called Horror Vibes Coffee, and it was a lot of fun to work with them to do like a special Saw drink. And we went to Midsummer Scream, this big horror convention, and did a big exhibit for Saw, and I was able to be involved with all of that, and it was so fun. And just my desk at work is all these little saw puppets all over it, just because the amount of like merch and giveaways that I've acquired while working on stuff like that. So that was the most memorable. And there have been a lot of other memorable things. I mean, I worked on the last Hunger Games movie, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and that was a lot of fun to work on, just working on a property that so many people are into. You know that what you're going to work on, what when it's posted, people will see it, and that's not always the case. Sometimes if you're working on a smaller project, it's like you have to win that audience. You don't just have it.
Hmm.
So that was really memorable, and there's been a lot of other horror movies that I've had a lot of fun working on, and also just in general working on a lot of the catalog that Lionsgate has. Like we're still posting some of the older movies to try and, keep them in the
Yeah.
conversation. And it's always fun to look at the library Lionsgate has and say, you know what, here's what we're going to do with it. And here's, it's the anniversary of this movie. Let's post a clip of this movie and let's try and reach that, audience for that film, even though it's 15 years old. But yeah, there's just been so many projects that all kind of the other day I was like trying to like update my website with like things I had worked on. I was trying to like pick out like a few key projects and that was a lot of fun to look back. We had done a movie called Imaginary with an evil teddy bear a few years ago. And similar to Saw, that was one that just had like a lot of flexibility in terms of like taking this creepy character and making him the star of the marketing campaign and all the different spooky things we could do with him. And that was a lot of fun. And we ended up doing like there was like this haunted house that was built for the movie, and we filmed like a short film in one of the sets to
Yeah.
like a little scary promo, and it was really fun because I was getting closer and closer to doing filmmaking stuff while also marketing the movie. So I think I'm able to understand sort of what is working right now and what people are talking about right now and what people are responding to
Because you're
in
the one talking about it
yeah,
and
in
respond.
the
Yeah.
film community, specifically the horror community. So I sort of have to retro. reverse that and apply it to what we're working on. And it's not a perfect science, but I think that that has been really helpful. Yeah.
Oh my God. I can just picture you on like Reddit or something, like participating in these fan communities, then being like, someone's like, I don't understand like this new trailer. You're like, facts. And then you're like, guys, we need to change the trailer.
No, I, for all of our movies, I think for the most part, if there's like a fandom, I start, going through the subreddits, and then my algorithm starts thinking
Yeah,
that's what I want to continue seeing, and then I'm in that community.
I'm not
At
surprised.
that point, it's like, oh, guess it's happening.
You're like seeing something you just released for it, and you're like, oh my God, no way. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like they post what we post. Like, yeah, that's crazy. Upvote.
whoa.
Like,
But yeah, so you've been at Lionsgate for 4 years. You went from a coordinator to, senior coordinator to manager.
Mhm.
A lot of early entry level entertainment professionals feel that, these early roles can sometimes be like a waste of time or like they don't feel valued or like they have trouble just, being passionate about the work. What is your, advice to people who are dealing with that kind of, I guess, just issue? I'll just summarize it like that. Yeah.
like the issue of
Feeling
having
like,
trouble finding an entry position or being in an entry level position that's not
actually, yeah, I'll
in
split
like
it.
like the finding question I get asked a lot, and there's no science for that. I mean, I was doing what everyone else does, just like spamming applications, using all the different databases and keeping track of, who was ghosting me, who I got interviewed by, and that's kind of the name of the game. It's just like a numbers game. The big thing is like you're narrowing yourself down if you're just looking at what you exactly want to do. Like I didn't set out to look for a bunch of like digital marketing jobs. It was just kind of one of the roles that came through in my job search, and that's what I took. So that's sort of another piece of advice is I wouldn't narrow yourself down. And I think also think specifically in marketing, like I think a portfolio or like a nice website for yourself can go a long way if like you include that on your resume, just in case the recruiter is curious and they click in and they could see more of your like style and your creative approach to designing stuff on the web. I think can be very, very helpful if you want to stand out just a little bit more past the resume. So that's finding. And then being in a repetitive entry level position, I think everyone's going to have to start with a role that maybe includes things that you're not super excited to do, but most, if not everyone, has done that same thing to get to where they are today. I think one thing I did, which obviously is not the case everywhere, is I picked up a lot of side quests. Like I was chasing projects that weren't even really supposed to be for me, and I was kind of trying to get involved in the things that were exciting me while having to work on maybe some stuff that was less exciting to me. So I was getting excited over the sort of side things I was doing while making sure I was excelling at what I needed to be doing. And I feel like that's something I still do sometimes today is a lot of fun additional projects on top of sort of the main things that we're working on. And that's helped me stay excited for sure. And I think not everyone is at a job where that place is making movies and shows that they are into or they enjoy. Like you could be working somewhere that's totally not what you want to do. And obviously then it's a little harder to find things to make you happy. But I think having a position, even if it's entry level and you're miserable, is a huge step. And a lot of people it can take them a long time to find that first position. So unless it's like literally destroying your mental health and your well-being, I think it's important to try and wait it out a little bit and see if there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it leads to somewhere a little better. I don't know. Was that a good answer?
No, I think that was great advice, especially the side quest thing. I think that was really good wording because I think everyone does that. You see a project at work that's not your job, but it's like this is interesting. Let me pick up a hobby when I'm at work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then just lastly, are there any social media accounts or projects or anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, follow Zomboy Productions with a Z at the end on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe. And then my personal Instagram is just Noah Levine 716. And then my Twitter is at Z Productions with a Z at the end. And I don't know, I have a short film that is showing at the Night Frights Film Festival on, I think, the weekend of October 2nd.
Okay.
And then at some point after that, I'll put it online. But yeah, so there's a new Zomboid Productions project cooking up. and I'm already thinking about what's next. So stay tuned for that.
Thank you, Noah, for joining. Next, we're going to talk with Maddy Davis, who is a self-made musician who's been doing this for basically her whole life. She really emphasizes the power that music has to bring people together. She's really talented, really creative and scrappy, and also really honest about the whole process and how it can be a little bit tolling. I've also been obsessed with her music for a while now. Her songs are always in my head, so this is a very exciting conversation for me. Easy first question, maybe not easy. Take me through kind of your general career progression. I know you've kind of always wanted to do music. So what were some of those major milestones along the way that brought you to this moment?
Yeah, so I've been in music and wanting to do music my entire life. My mom's a musician. And so my sister and I always sort of grew up, and my brother too, but my sister is also an artist as well. So the two of us just really like took to it. And I knew from basically when I was 12 that like nothing else was gonna be as important to me as pursuing a musical career. And so it was funny because a lot of people would be like, you're not going to want to be a pop star forever. Like you're going to want to, you're going to grow out of it.
Who
But
says? Who says?
I know, I was like, it's not the vibe. I just started like performing like more seriously, like at kind of towards the end of high school. And I've just sort of been at it since. I live in LA now. I'm also signed to Warner Chappell as a writer, producer. So I kind of just like everything in the music business is my cup of tea.
And you're from New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Me too. But yeah, I've been meeting a lot of people from New Jersey, like who are in the industry and then make that move to LA. And I feel like everyone has kind of like their own take on that move. So what was that? I mean, not just New Jersey, but
Yeah.
East Coast, like small town to LA. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is like a New Jersey thing. I feel like we all band together in LA and like in big cities. But I first moved to New York out of living in New Jersey. I was in New York for about a year. And I remember being in Jersey and just like there was a view from nearby in my neighborhood that you could see the skyline. And I remember like going there, just passing by there and just feeling like so close, but also like so far from the city at the same time. And I just remember being like 16, 17 and just being like, oh my God, like get me out of here. Like I'm stuck in New Jersey.
That's such a
Get me out.
typical New Jersey experience. Like, get
Yeah.
me out of here.
Yeah. There's that Bleachers Festival that's literally called like Shadow of the City.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that this is the perfect name for that. It's in like Asbury Park. Anyways, then I moved to New York, and when I moved to LA like a year later, it was really quick. Like I was so far from home that I really quickly like started to crave being in Jersey so much and really like starting to feel grateful for like where I was raised and have a lot of like house pride. I think like there's a thing with Jersey where like it gets a lot of shade, but then when you realize that like it's home and there's a lot of like really awesome parts about it, I started to embrace it as it being like my home, you know? It's like no one talks about my home.
So what was it like coming to LA and all of a sudden like you're in high school and they're like you're not going to be a pop star, like no one wants to do that forever, like, and now you're in LA where like everyone wants to do that.
Mm. I kind of go back and forth because on one hand it's like so nice because everyone's very inspired and everyone is hungry for the arts, which where I was raised, like that wasn't really the case. Like it was a big like I went to a big athletic high school. We had a good football team. It wasn't really the vibe to like make indie rock music like at all. So then when I went somewhere where like that was the vibe and it was very much embraced, and I found a community of people and friends that they want to like be going to shows, they want to help you film videos, they want to be involved, was such an amazing feeling. Like I remember like sitting with all my friends in college and being like, wow, like I really found my people. That was really great. On the other hand, it can be a little bit intimidating at times. Everyone's kind of competing for the same thing. I will say, I think like social media at large, it kind of makes it so it doesn't really matter like where you are. Not that it's a competition necessarily, but like if we are looking at it that way, it's like I'm competing just as much with people in LA as I would with someone in like the middle of Iowa. It's like we're all after the same thing. And No one is more valid or less valid.
Kind of a two-part question. Can you take
Yeah.
me through the typical process of creating a song, from the idea to, it's live?
Sure. It's changed a lot for me over the years, but I would say as of recent, I have accepted something about myself that I, at least at this point in my life, do not enjoy making music by myself. I find it really challenging. I also have like attention issues. So it's really hard for me to like hold myself accountable to like finish something. My process usually starts by just like getting in a room with somebody and I throughout the course of my day, my week, my month, I'll write down either like lyrics or concepts or just like something that's been on my mind and I'll just like put it in my notes app. And a lot of times I won't even take what I wrote, but it'll be kind of a good like starting point. And then I'll write the song out. A lot of times, like if I'm working with a producer, I also will produce too. But if I'm in like one world, I'm really like in that world. So like if I'm in writing mode, like I will legitimately like just not speak for like 2 hours and then be like, okay, it's done. Like I'll literally like, and I have to warn people when I work with them for the first time. I'm like, I'm probably because I'm very chatty. Like, oh, well, the first hour will be like chatting back and forth, and then we'll get down to it, and I'll just like sit there like this, like holding my phone, writing lyrics. Um, and then I'll kind of like let everything pour out. I work with a lot of the same people for kind of like the post-production process, like my mixer, the Gifted, James from the Gifted, he's so awesome. I've been working with him for a long time, and then Chris Geringer masters all my music. So they've been consistent for the past few years. And then it's out. Then the song's out.
So, second part of that question, how was that different from when you spent a week in Vermont writing 10 songs or making 10
Yeah.
songs?
Honestly, really similar.
Really?
Because yeah, I was with my two friends who are they're producers. Jimmy Somewhere is one of their names, and Milo Orkis is the other. So they're Norwegian, and I was just like honestly a big fan of theirs for years. Jimmy is like such an incredible artist and great lyricist, and Milo's such a great producer. And I basically like reached out to them and we started working together in LA because they moved to LA and we just became like really close friends. So they're like still a couple of my best friends. And my dad has a cabin in Vermont. That's my dad's place. And so I've just always dreamt of bringing friends there and being able to like make an album there. So honestly, it was like a never ending session. Like we would wake up at weird hours and go to bed at weird hours and we would just like eat all together and like the only thing that was different was like where we were and that it didn't end. So it was like no one was like, okay, we're wrapping it up for today. Like we'll see you guys later. Like it was literally just like playing musical chairs and being like if someone needed a break, then they'd go like jump in the lake or like, go for a walk or something. So it was quite similar in terms of like I would always like kind of go into my brain for a minute and like not talk to anyone and then like kind of present what I was working on. And they would a lot of times do the same thing, which was fun. It was always like we were always surprising each other with like ideas we had. But we made 10 songs because we never really shut off. Like there would be
Yeah.
between the three of us, like there was always somebody like at the studio set up. At the studio was crazy because it was literally just a table with like a bunch of gear on top. But there was already always somebody like sitting at the computer, like or somebody writing. So, it was done in a really fun way, but it wasn't like too different. Like it's more similar to my day to day than you probably would think.
And then another story that I want to hear more about is the boat music video.
Yes. I had the idea for that video for like so long. I really wanted to film in a boat that was in a driveway and not in water. I don't know why. I think it's because in New Jersey, as I'm sure you know, like especially South Jersey, like
Yeah.
everybody's got a boat. Like everybody's got like a dingy boat that lives in their yard or lives in their driveway, especially where my mom lives. There's just like so many boats. And I was like, I kind of want to embody or like, kind of like embrace the New Jersey feel of like that kind of nautical nostalgia. And I feel like, and I was like, what if I just like get all my friends in a boat and like we play the song? So I pitched this idea to my label and to my manager, and everyone was like, love the idea. I don't know how we're going to find someone that's going to let you do that. And I was like, well, okay, like watch me. And so my manager reached out to like a few like marinas that like hold the boats, but it was also the middle of winter. Like you have to understand, it was March. It was freezing cold. Everyone's boats were winterized. So there was no like boats like ready to be launched into the sea. I really was not letting this idea go. Like I was like, I will find a boat. I was reaching out to like my family members, being like, who knows, someone with a boat. And then I just decided to look on Facebook Marketplace of people in the area, like in my mom's neighborhood, that were selling their boat. So it was obviously people that I was also looking for a specific type of boat. Like kind of had to be like a used boat, like not like a brand new, like shiny boat. Like I wanted a boat that was like in a family for a really long time and like, it got a lot of love,
And he's that janky feeling like you're gonna get in the water and you might sink.
Exactly. I wanted like kind of a used boat. And so I reached out to probably like 30 people, maybe 50, so many. I just was like, I was sending DMs like it was my job. It was, but I was sending so many. I was like going crazy. And I was like, it was really hard because I think like people in LA, like everyone's used to that type of thing. But in like South Jersey Shore, like no one knows anything about that. So I tried to like draft like a nice DM, just being like, hi, my name is Maddie. I'm from Jersey. I want to film. It was so hard. Like I really was like trying to be like, I'm also not like gonna mess up your boat. Like I had to try to convey that I was like a trustworthy person with like a reliable team in like a message, which was really hard. And so I had pretty few responses at all. And then I had a couple that were like, hell no, you can't use my boat. And then I had like two or three that were like, I would like more information. Or this very one kind lady was like, you can use our boat. Like, that's sounds really fun. Like, totally. And I was like, that's so awesome. And she was 10 minutes away from my mom's house. The boat was perfect. It was parked in their driveway. We were able to fit the entire band in there. And her and her husband were just so sweet. It was like their boat was being sold like the next week, and they're like, now we have a great piece of media that we can like look at our boat. All the like people's neighbors were like looking at us because we had like not like a whole film crew, but we had like a small crew like with us, and we had the whole band. We had all the instruments in the boat, so it ended up working out against everyone's expectations. And the couple that ended up letting us use their boat, they are in the beginning of the music video. So if you watch the Afraid music video, they're the ones that are like waving, and then it pans over and we're standing next to the boat. So that's the boat story.
It's so nice how music can bring people together, even like in those like little moments. I want to talk live music. So you recently announced that you'll be playing at For You Fest in November. Is this your first festival?
It kind of is. I played a festival called Here for LA in, I guess it was December of 2022. So that was my first ever festival. And then I played South by Southwest in March of 2024. So I guess South by is like kind of its own thing. So I wouldn't, it's a festival, but it's not like a super traditional music festival. And then Here for LA was like pretty small. So yeah, this is like one of my first ones, if not my first, depending on like who's defining it.
So I know a lot of artists have very different opinions on performing live. So like some people hate touring and hate, they think it's exhausting. Others, it's like the whole thing for them. So where do you stand?
Yeah, I'm really far on the side of like I live for it. Like it is my favorite thing. ever. Like when I'm writing music, I'm a lot of times picturing like how it's going to sound live and how I'm going to perform it live. I've been performing live my entire life, so it just feels really natural. And there's no feeling quite like getting off the stage and like being like I just did it and like you want to get right back up there. What's funny though is I started having like really bad panic attacks associated with performing live in as early as like 2015. I used to throw concerts in my basement and had really bad social anxiety in high school, which is also crazy because I'm like a very social person and like I had a lot of friends. I was like, you would never have guessed it if like you knew me, but I had really bad social anxiety where like I would get like really sick to my stomach and like a lot of social situations, especially like if I had to like interact with like a senior and I was a junior or I was a freshman, like I was like, it would freak me out so much. So there was this one concert I was throwing with my older sister, and there was like, I think like 350 people came, and it was so fun. But I was a freshman in the band, I was playing with the band that was like juniors and seniors. And so a lot of people that were coming were juniors and seniors. And I just like couldn't stop throwing up like before going on. Like I literally was like upstairs, like sobbing. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Like literally, what's wrong with me? What's happening? Because I had never experienced like a panic attack or anything like close to it. And my mom, who's a therapist, thank God, like was there and she was just like, I think you're having a panic attack. Like, just like get through the show and I'll take you to therapy next week. And I was like, okay, you know.
Like save it for later. There's people.
I know. And I was like, okay. And then like kind of I got a text from my bandmate and he was like, okay, like we're ready for you. And I had to like go down and the show was so fun. Like it was just awesome. Like I literally like felt like I was gonna throw up until like the moment I got on the stage. And then I was like, we do it, New Jersey. You know, it's like I literally like it totally went away. So that's been a little bit of a pattern in my life. Like some shows, I can't really put my finger on what it is because I just don't know what triggers them. But sometimes I will have a panic attack before, sometimes I won't. And regardless of if I do or don't, the show is gonna go the same. Like it's gonna go okay. So even if like there's tech malfunctions or like something goes wrong on stage, like I'm fine. Like once I'm up there and like there's like people in front of me, oh my God, my heart's racing just like thinking about it.
Wait,
like I'm
same.
up there. It's really crazy. Like it's such a crazy like mental game. I've talked to my therapist about this and my like psychiatrist, and I'm just like, it's really weird because like I don't want to like take any drugs that like numb the feeling of being up there because beforehand I'm in rough shape. Like everyone in my band, my manager, everybody that tours with me like knows just like what I'm gonna be like before going on stage. And it's like really horrifying, probably. Like it's probably really like hard to be around. And then I walk up there and it completely goes away. And I just feel just like at ease and relaxed. And then the minute I get off, I'm like, I get this like rush of serotonin and it's like all I want is to go back on stage. And it's weird, like I said, like some shows are a lot worse than others, and it doesn't matter like the size of the show. Like I had a really bad panic attack, like, and I was playing like on somebody's front steps. Like that was like one of the worst ones I've ever had. And then like I sang the national anthem at a Lakers game, and I was like preparing to just like feel insane before. Like I was like, I'm gonna lose my mind before this national anthem. And I was like totally fine. Like I was like all good, no problem. So I can't really pinpoint what it is, but like I've just accepted that like that's just something that's gonna happen and I have to kind of just be okay with it. And I am. It's a part of me and I can still put on a good show regardless. So it's all good.
But on that, I like to pick quotes from like Instagram and stuff of just like things that I feel are representative of your career. And one that really stuck with me that you said, it was when you were signing your publishing deal. you said this job can be a draining one. Sometimes feeling like the light at the end of the tunnel doesn't get any closer, but it can also be the most rewarding job in the world. How do you, like we were just talking about with performing and just
Yeah.
everything, how do you get through these lows and remember that like this is what you want to be doing?
Yeah, that's such a good question. One thing about me is I write a lot of notes and like passages to myself. Like I'm the kind of person, I think that the version of me 5 years ago is like completely different than the person I am now. And I think the person I am now is going to be completely different than the person I am 5 years from now. And I like to use that to my advantage and kind of like, it's like almost like kind of relying on like a friend in a way. So like every year on my birthday, I write myself a letter. And I've been doing this since 2014, I think. And so like 12, I think I have 12 letters. And I basically just kind of update on my life. I, will say the things that are important to me. I'll ask myself questions, it's changed over the years of like what I put in the letter and what I find important. Every year is sort of different. But, since then I've always like music has been, if not the biggest, like one of the biggest parts of my life. And it's funny because even when I was like that young, like in middle school, like I would just be like, this is what you've wanted your whole life. Like, don't give up on it. And it's crazy because at least once a year, I don't read any of the letters until I open the next one. So, and then I read them all in a row. So like I'll read like age 14 to like whatever age I'm turning. So I'll have like 10 letters, to read. And it's so funny because like it's just consistently every year. It's just like, just keep going. Like I've worked so hard. Like this is, this is what you want. And I think that's a big thing. Like just like not letting like a younger version of myself down just because like it is a hard job that I've chosen. And it's like a really it's a really challenging one. Like the quote, it's like it does feel like the light's at the end of the tunnel sometimes, or if there's no light at the end of the tunnel, like it literally sometimes I'm like, what am I working towards? And then I have to remember that like what I am working towards and like why I'm working towards it. And it's because like even from like such a young age, like I've been so brave to like chase a dream that like I didn't realize until like adulthood that like a lot of people don't chase their dreams. Like a lot of people, you know, they don't choose the thing that could make them the happiest. They choose the thing that maybe will make them the most money or like make their parents smile or, that will like get them the best apartment and like that kind of thing. And like, maybe I would be in a better, like, I'd be in like a less like a risky industry if I chose like something else, but it wouldn't be authentic, and I wouldn't be me. Yeah, I chose this, but also like this chose me. Like this is the thing that I have to do. Like I don't have a plan B. Like I don't have anything else that interests me. Like this is it. So I just have to accept it. I kind of babbled on that one, but I have so many thoughts about that because that's such a good question.
No, I mean, it's honestly a selfish question. Like, there are ups and downs. I'm stealing this birthday idea. Like, I'm setting a reminder for November for me to write my letter. Like,
oh, mine's November too. What day?
6th.
Me too. What? Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh,
wait, really?
November 6th?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's insane. Happy birthday in
early
November.
Birthday.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. November 6th. What year were you born?
You want to guess?
I feel like you're like in your early 20s. 2004?
Yeah.
Ah, wow.
There you go.
Okay, nice. I'm 99, so I'm like 5 years older than you. Okay, cool.
My heart like dropped.
Me too. I'm like, my heart's beating really fast. That's so awesome.
Lastly, where can people find you? Instagram, music, everything.
Yeah, so I am Maddy J. Davis on all 3 platforms, I believe. So 3 being Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and MaddyDavisMusic.com is my website. Is that helpful? Do people go on websites anymore? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll see you next week. As always, closed mouths don't get fed.